A 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, hello.
Welcome, friends of the show. We are back with another episode of the Serious Rock Talk podcast.
Ooh, all right.
A big thanks for your emails, suggestions, and your support on our social media platforms. Continue to email us at seriousrocktalk@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Okay, buckle up for some serious rock talk. Serious Rock Talk. Back on the dial, 2023. I'm your host, Ferris Kennedy, and in the studio with me at all times, none other than the man that had an eating competition with Meatloaf himself back in the day and lost.
I lost badly, Dr. Ian Clarke.
How the heck are you,
I'm
Clarke?
so happy to be here this evening and looking over the beautiful city lights. I can see the ocean, beautiful Pacific rolling in on the white beaches. What a pleasure it is.
Well, Ian, considering you're in such a great mood.
Yeah, okay.
And I want to put you in even a better mood.
Okay.
To add to this greatness that you're going. So I'm going to give you some extra gravy.
Okay.
Today we are talking about a band who is actually announcing their 2023 tour.
Oh, God.
And they're going to be releasing, Ian, get this, a new album in 2023.
Stop the pain.
Ian, none other than the legendary multi-platinum, who cares if they won a Grammy or not, it doesn't matter, 37 albums after this year, the Rolling Stones.
Okay.
And like Ian says, please make it stop.
The Rolling Bones, stop the torture.
So I am going to lead off into a small...
What do you got?
I got here the Rolling Stones.
Right.
They were formed in 1962 in London, England.
1962? Mm-hmm. Good Lord.
So that's already 61 years.
Oh, God.
By the time the Rolling Stones began calling themselves the world's greatest rock and roll band in the late 60s, they had already staked out an impressive claim on the title. As a self-consciously dangerous alternative to the bouncy Mersey beat of the Beatles in the British Invasion, the Stones had pioneered the gritty, hard-driving, blues-based rock and roll that came to define hard rock. With his preening machismo and latent maliciousness, Mick Jagger became the prototypical rock frontman, tempering his macho showmanship with a detached, campy irony, while Keith Richards and Brian Jones wrote the blueprint for sinewy, interlocking rhythm guitars, backed by the strong yet subtle, swinging rhythm section of bassist Bill Wyman and drummer, the late, great Charlie Watts. The Stones became the breakout band of the British blues scene, eclipsing such contemporaries as the Animals and Them. Now, the band members at that time consisted of, and still do, some are still there, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, Charlie Watts, Bill Wyman, Brian Jones, Mick Taylor, Ronnie Wood, Ian Stewart, Dick Taylor, Mick Avery, and Kenny Jordan.
Like Mick Avery, he was a kink. That goes way, 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 way back. Like, wow. The thing is, when you discuss the Rolling Stones, it's difficult for me to find a focal point. You know, the fact this group has been around for so long, it defies, like a normal description or discussion. You know, to put it in terms of classical music, it's as if Tchaikovsky is still alive and performing music. It is so bizarre to have this band that formed in, Kennedy just said 1962. We can look at their songs, we can look at their personalities, we can look at documentaries, at their cultural influences, the drug use, the girlfriends, the wives, the fashion statements. It just never stops. So how do we discuss the Rolling Stones? And I think the best way to go about it is to follow what made them famous, and that's the music itself. Just their discography is intimidating. We have something like 30 studio albums, 12 live albums, 29, 30 compilations, extended plays, singles, 33 box sets. How do you have 33 box sets?
Well, 37 albums and counting.
Yeah.
Because 2023, they're going to release their 37th studio album. That is just insane.
It's insane. They have 50 video albums, which I don't really know about. All right, throughout their career, they've sold over 240 million records worldwide. And of course, Billboard ranked them as the second greatest artist of all time, behind the Beatles, as Billboard would do. So, yeah, they're formed in 62. We've already gone through the lineup. They had a really young producer, Andrew Luke Oldham, worked with them in 63. He is a big deal in the Rolling Stones story. It didn't leave him the best of terms with them, but he power boosted them. You know, he got them out of their little Beatles suits, and they got the bad boy image and everything else. Andrew Luke Oldham should be underrated when you discuss the Rolling Stones. Their first hit was written by Lennon and McCartney, who wrote the song in about 18 seconds, called I Want to Be Your Man. It's no great shakes of a song, but it got the Rolling Stones on the charts. I've always thought of the Rolling Stones, we mentioned it earlier, as a kind of a blues band that morphed into a grinding rock and roll band. Their early stuff is really bluesy, and I know I raised a few feathers on podcasts when I said the Beatles were the greatest pop band, not rock band, pop band. It's not an insult. It's pop music. And the Rolling Stones, in my estimation, are the greatest rock and roll band. They really broke out in 65 with I Can't Get No Satisfaction. You know, and it defined the Stones. It's a riff song. Everybody knows the riff. I don't think it's a great song. It's like a 12-bar bluesy song, but it's the riff. And the Stones, as Keith Richards said, they just used the same riff. They just changed it around. And for all you guitar players out there, you know what I'm talking about. Everything could be Jumpin' Jack Flash. It's just the same riff. And that was really his cleverness, Keith Richards' cleverness with the Rolling Stones compositions. In 68, they had Jumpin' Jack Flash. 69, they had Honky Tonk Women. And then at the height of the band, I regard this as their height. They had albums like Beggar's Banquet, Let It Bleed, and my favorite Stones song, album rather, in 69. Brian Jones left the band in 69. Poor guy, he's having a lot of issues. And he died a few months later under suspicious circumstances. And he's replaced by Mick Taylor, who'd been kind of he'd been around in the clubs. They all knew Mick Taylor. They brought him in. Didn't they consider Jeff Beck at the time, too?
They did. And the beauty about Jeff Beck, and I have it here in my notes. So bear with me for a second here while I open up
Jeff
the
Beck
Bible.
Of course he's not going to join. I mean, he doesn't fit that style at all.
Well, Jeff Beck, as everyone knows, is one of the best guitarists in the world, and the Stones have always deeply admired him. They considered him for the role when Brian Jones was fired,
right? And
then they thought of Beck again when Taylor quit. The former Yardbird guitarist was invited to jam with the Stones and soon realized it was an audition. However, he saw the band was in a chaotic state and decided to leave before this audition was over. Beck said about the experience that some people might find it hard to believe that you'd walk away from the Stones gig, but but Keith and I wouldn't have gone through an album without punching each other out anyway.
Oh, so true.
It was probably a good idea since the next album the brilliant guitarist released was Blow by Blow, an absolute landmark of the jazz fusion genre.
I know. So you know how far jazz fusion is from what the Rolling Stones are doing?
It's not even close.
It's not even close. So earlier I mentioned Billboard. You know, I think it's probably a time for me to break out of this and go into a Clarke comments.
Welcome to Clarke Comments. Shut up and buckle up as the good doctor kicks out the jams and offers a selection of questionable, disturbed opinions that are somehow related to popular music.
The followers of the podcast know my feeling for awards shows in the arts. Whenever I mention award shows, what enters your mind is boredom, celebrity saturation, 1 hour of your life you will never get back.
1 hour, try 3.
That's good. A squalid depiction of self-involved, desperate people? Or are you engrossed, enticed by the proliferation, by the display and performance of talent? Do award shows for the arts seem to celebrate the just and thereby punish the unjust? Look, in terms of artistic merit, is it good that we create losers? Does competition have any value or significance when we discuss the arts? Do we really know how Academy Awards are awarded, how Grammys are awarded, Tonys, Golden Globes? How is it that some performer or band gets into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and others don't? God help them. Anyway, I'm pleased to see the millennials and Gen Z are jaded by award shows. I've seen this firsthand. They do not place much weight on celebrity spectacles. There seems to be many reasons for this. One is obviously social media. There are so many opportunities to see so many celebrities, and an award show is just one more opportunity. It wasn't always that way. So another consideration is the cynicism young people feel toward corporate institutions such as Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Academy Awards, the Grammys, the Tonys. They seem suspicious of the methodologies. They seem to question the non-existent transparency. Award shows began and continue to exist to sell product. That's not a big secret. So it's a commercialization of the art forms, and that's fine if it's understood. But I suppose in the end, it all works out. Good movies last decades. Great songs are heard forever, and often ones that win multiple awards vanish like a morning dew, never to be seen again. This has been Ian Clarke, and you've been listening to Clarke Comments.
That's very interesting, Ian. Obviously, stay tuned down the road.
Yeah.
My rant about the Junos that's going to come up sometime in April, which I'm sure a lot of people appreciate.
Yeah.
But, Ian, I want to just give you something here about the 10 weirdest Rolling Stones songs.
Oh, God, okay.
It's interesting. Going Home from 1966 Aftermath.
Don't know it.
Don't know it? Okay. They said here, we tried to make singles as long as we could, then because we just like to let things roll on, Keith Richards told the Rolling Stones in 71. No one sat down to make an 11-minute track. We just happened to keep the tape rolling.
Oh, well, what the hell, right?
Something happened to me yesterday from 67's Between the Buttons.
I've heard the title. I don't know the song.
Sing This All Together from their Satanic Majesty's Request.
That just sounds bad.
Yeah, they said several catalysmic shifts have occurred throughout this history of recorded music. One of them is certainly the release of the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, which combined heavy psychedelic imagery and experimental instrumentation. Obviously, Frank Zappa did it with the Mothers and We Are In It Just for the Money.
Yeah, true.
Which was a horrible album. I don't know why I bought it.
Unlistenable.
I bought it because it's nostalgic and I like the cover. Leave it be.
Well, you think about it, Sgt. Pepper really was prog rock.
It was actually a good album,
Yeah,
though.
good album. It's proggy, and the Stones are not proggy.
Here's another one, Ian. Hopefully you know this one here a little bit later in time. Cherry, Oh Baby, Black and Blue.
Yeah, it's okay, actually.
Yeah, they called it weird.
I guess so.
Might as well get Juiced from 1997, Bridges to Babylon.
No, don't know it. Not interested.
I think of, what's that song by Bonnie M? Rivers of Babylon.
Oh, yeah, on the river. No.
So anyway, maybe they want to do that. I don't know. Continental Drift from 89 Steel's Wheels. Not a great album.
No, you're scaring me now.
Number 4, 2,000 Light Years from Home from 67's Their Satanic Majesty's Request.
It's actually not that bad.
I actually like that song.
Yeah, it's a spacey song. It's not like the Stones.
It's like a Ziggy Stardust, pre-Ziggy Stardust.
It's not horrible.
Number 3, I Just Want to See His Face from 72's Exile on Main Street.
I can't. I know the title. I can't get the tune in my head.
Yeah, they said, like most of Exile on Main Street, there's a general murkiness to this slight, I just want to see his face. That's what they're saying. It's a mostly loose jam that leans in a slightly gospel direction.
Okay.
Number 2, Too Much Blood from 1983's Undercover. I didn't even know they had that album.
No, I'm not even going there with that.
And then the number 1 weirdest song,
Yeah.
which I disagree. They said Faraway Eyes from the album Some Girls, released in 78.
I know what they mean. When I first heard it, I thought was he being ironic in this song? Because he puts on this southern accent. There she is. She's a girl with fire away. Are they trying to make fun of the Eagles?
Isn't it a Charlie Watts thing, though? It's a Charlie Watts song.
No,
No?
it's Mick. But he sings it. I thought he was just trying to parody the Eagles. Or it was a little bizarre that. I'm not sure what he's doing on that. I know what they mean. So
I just want to get to that, and then later I'll get to they ranked their 25 albums from worst to good.
Oh, good. Where did I leave off? So as I said, poor Brian Jones, 69, and he was gone. Mick Taylor was in. Mick Taylor quit the band in 74, so he wasn't there that long in terms of the Stones. And he's replaced, of course, by Ronnie Wood of the Faces. And in 78, they released Some Girls, which I feel is their last great album. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff on that. Tattoo You in 81 also had some stuff, not great stuff, not quite as good. And Steel Wheels is kind of where they lost me.
You got some good points there because you mentioned Mick Taylor and you did Tattoo You. And with Mick Taylor.
You like Mick Taylor.
I like Mick Taylor, and he left the band in 74, like you said, after recording of It's Only Rock and Roll. And it's because the drugs and lack of camaraderie in the band was a huge factor.
Oh, wow.
That was one thing. And then for Tattoo You, some of Tattoo You's tracks included Mick Taylor's graceful guitar work, but he was not credited for it. By this point, Taylor was sick of being marginalized by the band and demanded a share of the royalties, or he would pursue legal action. He was eventually given the royalties he deserved.
Really?
Yes.
Good on him.
I like Mick Taylor, and I'm okay with Ronnie Wood, but if I had to choose,
Yeah, I know.
it'd be Mick. And I would bring back Bill Wyman just because I like the way you say his name, Bill Wyman.
Yeah, he was like this stone face, but he was underrated too. So,
You're going to talk about Steel's Wheels?
you go ahead.
No, you go first.
No.
It's depressing.
Yeah, it's the Steel Wheels. I didn't even bother with it. I heard some cuts. I thought, what's the point? It's like undercover. What am I doing here?
Well, here's what they said. The album Steel Wheels saw the Stones put the rocky period behind them. Before leaving home for the recording sessions, Richards told his wife he'd be back in 2 weeks or 48 hours, depending how things went. He ended up staying.
I mean, it's just so silly, right? Wyman left in 93 because he didn't like touring anymore, as they'd say in Down East, touring anymore. He was replaced by Daryl Jones for tours, and Jones did some recordings too. And as we all know, Charlie Watts died in 2021, and he was replaced by Steve Jordan, his friend actually. Okay, now it's time to get a little personal here. The only reason, well, not personal, this is maybe more of a professional perspective with the music business. The only reason we all know about the Rolling Stones is that they wrote great songs. It sounds simplistic, but ladies and gentlemen, it is really, really hard to write a great song. The old thing used to be, in the States anyway, if you can write 2 or 3 songs that are great, you have a career the rest of your life doing oldies tours or what have you. The Rolling Stones, in my estimation, wrote over 30 great songs, maybe over 40. It is freakish. Only the Beatles can compare. So that's the reason we still talk about the Rolling Stones. It is not the musicianship, and it's not Mick Jagger's dance moves. It's great songs. Keith, by the way, is often called the soul of the Stones. Mick was the brains. But I think the founder, Brian Jones, is consistently undervalued when appraising their success. You know, he had a lot of demons. He wasn't a nice guy, but aside from giving them their name and all that stuff, he gave them a certain style that launched them from being a blues band in early 60s London to being kind of these fashionable bad boys, elegantly wasted. Now, I know, Mr. Kennedy, you're not crazy about Brian Jones, are you?
Not particularly, no. Just because I could have stumbled across that too, where someone calls me and said, "What's the name of your band?" And I don't know. I have, Van Halen's Jump album sitting in front of me, or maybe the Beatles' Love Me Do. And what's the name of your band? Oh, Let Me Do.
Yeah, I know.
You know.
I always thought that was a little goofy too.
You know, but whatever. It stuck, and obviously there's a magazine named after them called the Rolling Stones. So I don't know. It's a cool name. I give him credit for the name. No, I'm not a big fan of Brian Jones. I'm not gonna deny it. I think what really irked me with him is the music video where he's playing the maracas and he can't even play squat properly.
I know, he's just so glazed.
It's the Symphony of the Devil.
Is it?
From Circus?
Yeah, Rock and Roll Circus.
Yeah, is that an album or is that a movie?
It was actually like a TV show movie thing that wasn't released for like 25 years because it's so bizarre. It's actually not really very good. The Who, Jethro Tull, it just didn't work. John Lennon.
He was in it.
Yeah, I know. It's just bizarre. But, yeah, that was Brian Jones. And so what else do we have? Somebody wants try to segment the Stones' career. 62 to 64, that's when they were building awareness. 65 to 67 was kind of their Beatlemania, a lot of screaming. 68 to 72, a lot of good stuff in there. And you have Jones' departure, of course. Then 72 to 97. There's a lot of good stuff in there, but it does thin out, as I said. In 73, they had Goat's Head Soup, which I thought was a good album. The hit off it was Angie, which is kind of a little tired.
You're not big on Voodoo Lounge, eh, Ian?
No. Did you like it?
I did, because I like that love is strong, and you're so sweet. Because also the other album that my father didn't mind it, and obviously Ian and my dad, they could talk about the Stones for hours because they both loved this band, but it was that other album called A Bigger Bang. Now, funny enough, I was in Italy when that came out in 2005.
Isn't that Greatest Hits or something?
No, it's the one that it's as if like have sparkle, like those candles that sparkle, those flares. And it was funny because in Italy there is a cell phone called Vodafone, and they used the Stones song of Streets of Love.
Oh, I know that song. It's a good song.
Yeah, so that's what they use. And I don't know, I kind of fell in love with that song when I was in Italy, and I bought the album when I was there. So I don't have any issues with that album. I know you're not big on it.
Not huge on it.
No, I think for you it stops at 74.
You know, I Some Girls is pretty strong, and after that, listen, you listen to the albums and you'll find at least one good song per Stones album. That's just the way it goes. But as a whole album, listen, I know everyone falls down and worships Exile on Main Street from 72, and I thought it was pretty good. There's some good stuff on there, but it's a lot of self-indulgent stuff. I mean, but it's a double album, and I guess repackaged box set, inserts, outtakes, everything. It doesn't matter. I just have never really grooved too much on Exile on Main Street.
I don't know. I have at home 12 by 5.
Yeah.
I have Aftermath on vinyl.
Okay.
Those two I have on vinyl. I have their Satanic Majesty's Request. I have Beggar's Banquet, Let It Bleed, Get Your Yayas Out.
Good album.
Yeah. Sticky Fingers, Exile on Main Street, Goat's Head Soup, and then I go to Some Girls, Tattoo You Twice. I can't believe Dirty Work is still sitting in my collection. I have Stripped on CD, and I have Blue and Lonesome on CD, and I have Voodoo Lounge on vinyl, and I might just go get the one that he's whispering in Buddy's ear. What's that one? Black and Blue?
Not Angie.
Goat's
Head Soup?
No, I have Goat's Head Soup.
Oh, that one, Love You Live?
Black and Blue.
Oh, okay.
Black and Blue, yeah. And I have Exile. Exile is probably, I don't know, if I had to choose my favorite, Beggar's Banquet, maybe. That or Let It Bleed. It's between those two.
Let It Bleed's a great album.
Which is the one with Give Me Shelter?
Oh, what is that? Let It Bleed?
Yeah, that's the one I like.
So 74, Taylor left. You brought in Ronnie Wood. And as my buddy said, Jeff Beck was asked to join the group. Beck wasn't alone. They went through a few guys until they got, Mick Taylor. So
They could have asked George Harrison. He was available.
yeah, probably.
No, I'm being serious.
He might have been, around that time. So Mick Taylor left. Keith Richards was addicted to heroin for many years. In 1977, he was arrested in Canada at the Toronto airport. I remember it, for bringing in narcotics. And what saved him is they realized Keith bought the drugs in Canada. So he really saved himself an incredible sentence, jail sentence. So he had to play, I remember it was 2 concerts for the blind in beautiful Oshawa, Ontario. And that's the way, and some of the Stones came out for it.
The Schwa? He was in Motor City.
He was there for 2, and he got away. Anyway, the big story there is Keith kicked heroin, and he thanks the Mounties for it. But Anita Pallenberg, his girlfriend, partner, was also a heroin addict, and she didn't kick, and she's no longer with us. So the good news, as I said, is Keith kicked. After that, the Monsters, their songs weren't as great. Who knows? I'm not going to support drugs in any way. 1983, we mentioned Undercover. One of the problems, was kind of an internecine wars between the Glimmer twins here. Richards and Jagger did not get along. Jagger did a lot of solo stuff, which is just as crummy. And you realize how much he needs Keith Richards. And vice versa, right? So there we are, really, with the Rolling Stones. I can talk about Charlie Watts passing, but we all know that. It didn't change that much. Keith said he was going to stop touring, but it also makes you kind of question what the future is, not of the Stones, but of almost what we call classic rock.
Well, that's right. And here we are at, we had a Clark's Comments, now it's Kennedy's Corner.
Welcome to Kennedy's Corner. Following the advice of a behavioral psychologist, Ferris Kennedy has created a forum to express his nightmares, his terror, and his love of rock music.
And as most of you know, my frustration of how things have gone in the music world have just made me nothing but sad and depressed. Well, not depressed, but just disappointed, really. So I've had this article that I wrote, and I want to share it with you all. And it's called, What's the Future, If Any, of Classic Rock?
Okay.
60 years and counting. The Rolling Stones have celebrated 60 years of classic rock music. Like Her Majesty, who had serviced and upheld her duties for 70 years until her passing to a nation, why not have classic rock bands continue the same trend by keep going to help influence a younger generation and pass the torch on this incredible music? Myself included as a Generation X, I must specify, as I am right in the middle of where music was great and have witnessed where music took a wrong turn at Albuquerque. Here's my take on it. I do not want bands like the Rolling Stones, AC/DC, Aerosmith, U2, Kiss, and the Eagles as an example to ever stop. Given the age, we don't know how much longer they can go. These are just examples of bands that lit the torch and continue to burn, and it's burning strong. In some shape or form, these bands are still relevant. Perfect example is Metallica. Were they ever irrelevant? In my opinion, no, they were not. Now, a series on Netflix called The Stranger Things, which I'm sure most of you have heard, introduced their music, and now a new wave of younger people have been introduced to them, and they have new fans. They have not written anything new recently. Mind you, this year they're coming out with something new, coincidentally, but it was their infamous Master of Puppets album that kindled the fire. Maybe Netflix is onto something. Maybe they should do this with every series targeted to audiences of adolescence where they introduce classic rock bands, dead or alive, to rekindle the art that I was fortunate enough to listen to and appreciate and buy their vinyls and stream their music in the car. I'm one of those fans that never wants them to go or even leave this earth. I know the second option is not viable, but one could hope for longevity in life. How awesome would it be to have the Stones complete 75 years of music, or Aerosmith, AC/DC, and the Eagles make it to 65? Wouldn't it be nice to have Sir Paul McCartney and Ozzy Osbourne achieve the age of 101? Why not? They're still awesome. Given the age, the bands that are still capable to make a longer run to keep us Gen Xers happy are Metallica, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Guns N' Roses, Bon Jovi, Motley Crue, U2, and the Foo Fighters. Pearl Jam, Bryan Adams, Nickelback, Neil Young, Bob Dylan, Oasis, the Black Crowes, and Tom Cochrane. Yeah, a couple of those guys I mentioned are still a little older, but they're still awesome. Now there are bands that unfortunately cannot continue, like the likes of Van Halen, as we lost the main guy, and this is the reason why Roth retired, as they can't go without Eddie. Beastie Boys, they lost Adam Yauch. Led Zeppelin, Bonham is gone. Rush with no Pert, and the Tragic Hip with no Downey makes it tough to keep on trucking. I'm Ferris Kennedy, and these are my thoughts.
Wow, man, that's again, listeners of the podcast know my amigo here and myself. We don't really see eye to eye on this stuff, but I do like one thought particularly in there, that the old guys can kind of pass on some lessons to the young guys, and I'm okay with that. They got kind of a bizarre mentorship, or you know what I mean, apprenticeships going on there. They used to call Aerosmith just a Rolling Stone knockoff. Like, you can see how that kind of mentorship works. Myself, I really don't want to see these guys going, but I don't, how can I say, it doesn't bother me that Paul McCartney still tours and he has half his octave range left, because he sells out and people want to see the last really Beatle. No, Ringo, not you. And and yeah, I'm okay with that. And if the Rolling Stones want to keep going, and if they have to bring a defibrillator on stage, that's okay, whatever. But for me, I saw the Stones about, 10 years ago. They seemed pretty old back then. And there's a YouTube video, it's kind of cruel, taken in 2016, where Keith can't even start the song Happy from Exile. He's looking around, he finally turns to Ronnie, and Ronnie plays the chord, the lead, and then he kicks it. Yeah, I know it's Keith, and it's okay, but also there's kind of a pain in your heart too, right? That, God, everyone's getting old, and Keith is getting really old. The joke's kind of over about, the last man living. Keith, they're all getting pretty old. That's my take on the Rolling Stones. They may not be in the sun in the skies, they say. That's the Beatles, but they're definitely the Constellations. It's like, I think of it this way. Somebody once said you can't talk about rock concerts without at some point talking about Woodstock. It's the big gorilla in the room. And you cannot discuss rock and roll music without talking about the Rolling Stones at some point. You can't do it. It'd be like not talking about rather Chuck Berry or something. You just can't. If you know anything about the genre, you can't do it. So, thank you for sticking with us. It's been a bit of a haul. We got through the Rolling Bones, and
well, before we go,
yeah,
do you want to know what the 25 albums worst to first?
No.
Yes.
Okay. If you must.
Well, Ian, I think it's going to make you cry.
All right. You made me cry. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, to end it off, here we go with the 25 albums from worst to first.
Okay.
Sorry. All right. Not Rivers of Babylon. Bridges to Babylon is number 25.
Really, eh? I'm with them on that. Where'd this come from, by the way? Do we know?
This is, I want to say Ultimate Classic. Yes, Ultimate Classic Rock.
It sounds like an Ultimate Classic Rock.
Yeah, Ultimate Classic Rock. So here's your 25 albums that maybe 20 suck and the other 5 are good. So
okay, Babylon.
Bridges to Babylon, number 25. Number 24, Dirty Work.
Yeah, we covered that in a previous podcast.
And we pretty well threw the album
It's
out.
horrible.
Ian, number 23,
Yeah.
Undercover.
I'm with them.
Okay.
I think it's brutal.
Voodoo Lounge, number 22.
Yeah, there's not much there.
Love is strong, and you're so sweet.
But
A Bigger Bang. Look at that. The 2 albums I mentioned that
you like.
I know. This one's interesting. December's Children and Everybody's.
It's a little mixed up, that album, but I'm a little surprised at that.
Black and Blue, number 19.
There's some good stuff on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're starting to get better.
Yeah.
Number 18, England's Newest Hitmakers.
Yeah, well, you don't know, right? I mean, that's like introducing the Beatles. Yeah, okay. All right.
The Rolling Stones Now.
I know that album. Yeah, this is another one of those really early albums, like K-Tel.
This one surprised me, Ian, because you told me to get rid of this out of my collection. I did.
you?
Steel's Wheels.
It's brutal. It's not listenable.
They said number 16. This one here ranked a little too low in my Goat's Head Soup.
Listen, I like it.
Yeah.
But it's a really druggy album. Like it is. It's, I don't know. Like they're Grateful Dead. It's pretty. For the Rolling Stones, it's not a hard rock gig.
All right. Their Satanic Majesty's Request.
Well, you and I both kind of like it.
I like it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
It's at number 14.
Okay.
13, interesting, 12 by 5.
Yeah, there's some hits. These are hit makers, right? They're hits on that song, on that album. Rather.
This one here I never heard of, but I know you did because you know this band better than I do.
Yeah.
Out of Our Heads.
Yeah, another really early album. Good stuff.
This one here, I bought this for you for Christmas a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Blue and Lonesome.
It is a very well-produced album, but
My
it's not...
father liked it.
Really?
Yeah, because he thought it brought back their traditional blues.
It's not their songs. They just do a great job on it. Like, they're good musicians on this. You know what I mean? And it's very well-produced, but it's not like a hit album or anything.
Number 10, and you told me to get rid of it, and I did. Emotional Rescue.
Oh. It's just so bad. Jagger should have been slapped for that.
This one here I kept, and you said no. I said, too bad. Tattoo you.
Okay, there is some stuff on it, but I challenge anyone to sit down for side A and B.
Number 8, It's Only Rock and Roll.
Yeah, that's a good album. Like 70s, yeah.
Number 7, Between the Buttons.
There's some people who think that's their best album.
Number 6, Aftermath.
Good album, strong album. These are all really early Stones.
Now we're in the top 5.
Okay. Numero 5.
Numero 5. Some Girls.
I like it. 78.
Yeah.
Yeah, good album.
Number 4, not going to disagree, Beggar's Banquet.
Yeah, well, can't go wrong.
Number 3,
Yeah.
Let It Bleed.
Oh, wow. That's my favorite. Okay.
Number 2, Ian, it's your favorite.
What's that?
Exile on Main Street.
Yeah, I mean, it's like saying the best Beatle album is Sgt. Pepper. I disagree with that.
All right, and the number 1 album.
The number 1.
Take a guess.
What's left? I can't even think what's left of the Rolling Stones. I figured Exile would be number 1. What did they think?
What do you do when you put on your pants and put a button? What's the last thing you zip up?
Oh, no, Sticky Fingers?
That's right.
Really? Okay.
Here's what they said.
Yes.
Title aside, Sticky Fingers snaps like a thunderstruck. No matter how many times you hear Charlie Watts' snare kick in on You Can't Hear Me Knocking, or
That's a
the
pretty
way
good
it
song.
stands firm against Keith's squirrely riff, your limbs can't help but respond at a molecular level. Any band that can convincingly put excellent but tonally antithetical songs like Bitch and Moonlight Mile on the same platter is full of goddamn sorcerers, or whoever wrote this, and the range of emotions displayed, from the jaunty satire of Dead Flowers to the mournful, gorgeous, and immortality proud Wild Horses.
You know, you just mentioned some really great songs.
Yeah, I love Wild Horses.
I mean, it's a really good album. And I think it's kind of cool that they put it as number 1. As I said, with the Beatles, they always go Sgt. Pepper. Like it's just that often the critics default to the popular vote. Good for them.
It manages to rise above its time.
Yeah, good on them for doing that.
It's a good album. I like it.
Oh yeah, I mean, good on them.
I wonder how many people bought the one with the zipper.
Well, that's it. That was what, Sticky Fingers?
Yes, sir.
And the trivia behind that is I think it was designed by Andy Warhol, and it was first came off the press. They actually put a zipper in the cover, which is, oh so naughty. But the problem is when you start stacking them, guess what happens to the wax? So that if you can get one of those, ladies and gentlemen, you got a collector's. It quickly went into a graphic. And there you have it, the Rolling Stones in synopsis. And thank you for hanging with us. And hopefully you learned a little something about the world's greatest rock and roll band.
Who is still touring and have a new album coming out in 2023.
Oh, my God.
October, I believe.
What, number 38?
37.
37.
Don't give them... Nah, you just cursed it. They're going to do 38.
I cursed. Like, it's going to be incredible. Okay. Well, thank you for being with us. My name is Dr. Ian Clarke.
Ferris Kennedy saying goodbye.
Have a wonderful day.